Find out what's happening this week in the world of books this and every Monday. Stay tuned. Welcome to Biblio Happy Hour's Biblio News segment, where we will be sharing new releases for this week, other titles to look out for in future, bookstore events, and what's trending. Before I get started, I just wanted you to know that you can listen to our off-the-cuff discussions, get our monthly top-shelf new release recommendations, behind-the-scenes content, perks, and more over on our Patreon page. Patreon is a super easy way to support the show, plus it helps us to grow and embark on new and amazing projects for both the book and bookstore community. So check out the details over at patreon.com/bibliofinder. And without further ado, here's what's new for the week of Monday, December 9th. From Sourcebooks Fire, The Pretenders by Rebecca Hanover. In this thrilling conclusion to the Similars duology, Emma must figure out who she really is, decide between two boys with the same face, and stop a dangerous plan based on revenge. From Source Books, Do You Know Your Husband? A quiz about the man in your life. And Do You Know Your Wife? A quiz about the woman in your life. Both books by Dan Karlinski. New this week from Flatiron Books, The Wonderful by Saskia Sargentson. This is a sweeping and turbulent drama about the anxieties of post-war Britain, where one strong and inspirational young woman looks to find her place no matter the cost. New from FSG Books, The Dolphin Letters, 1970 to 1979, by Elizabeth Hardwick, Robert Lowell, and Saskia Hamilton. Also from FSG, The Dolphin, 2 versions, 1972 to 1973, by Robert Lowell, edited by Saskia Hamilton. New in paperback from FSG Books, Peaches Goes It Alone, a poetry collection by Frederick Seidel. New from Picador Books, 7 Types of Atheism by John Gray. Also new from Picador, The Circuit, a tennis odyssey by Rowan Ricardo Phillips. Also from Picador Books, Shatter the Night by Emily Littlejohn. New this week from St. Martin's Press, Sidney Lumet by Maura Spiegel. This is a biography of one of America's greatest film directors, Sidney Lumet. New this week from Thomas Dune Books, The Glittering Hour by Iona Gray. This is an unforgettable historical novel about true love, found and lost, and the secrets we keep from each other. From Bloomsbury Publishing, An Impeccable Spy by Owen Matthews. New from Amistad Books, Africaville by Jeffrey Colvin. This is a debut novel set in a small Nova Scotia town settled by former slaves that depicts several generations of one family bound together and torn apart by blood, faith, time, and fate. New this week from William Morrow Books, The Wicked Redhead by Beatrice Williams. This is a jazz-age tale of rum runners, double crosses, and true love spanning the eastern seaboard from Florida to Long Island to Halifax, Nova Scotia. New this week from Gallery Books, Meet Me on Love Lane by Nina Bossi. This is a romantic comedy about a woman who grudgingly returns home to small-town Pennsylvania, only to find herself falling in love, not only with the town, but with 2 of its citizens. New in paperback from Modern Library, Dear Los Angeles, The City in Diaries and Letters, 1542 to 2018, edited by David Kippen. New this week from Crooked Lane Books is The Dead Girls Club by Damian Angelica Walters. This is a story about 2 young girls, a scary story that becomes far too real, and the tragic and terrifying consequences that follow one of them into adulthood. Also from Crooked Lane Books, Crossroad by W.H. Cameron. On a desolate road in the Oregon high desert, an apprentice mortician stumbles upon a horrific car crash and into a vortex of treachery, Long Buried Secrets, and Growing Menace. Also from Crooked Lane Books, Murder at the Opera by D.M. Quincy. This is book 3 in an Atlas Catesby mystery. Also new from Crooked Lane Books, The Course of All Treason by Suzanne M. Wolfe. Also new this week from Crooked Lane Books is All That's Bright and Gone, and we have the author Eliza Nellums here with us to share all the details. Eliza, welcome to Biblio Happy Hour.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. So, your debut novel, All That's Bright and Gone, will be available on bookshelves this week. How excited are you? How are you feeling?
Oh my gosh, I'm completely overwhelmed. I missed my train twice this week. I keep boring all of my coworkers with book talk. I'm a little scattered.
It's both a mix of being excited and nervous. That's completely fine. Absolutely. So tell us about your novel. Tell us about All That's Bright and Gone, and what can readers expect?
All right. Well, it is a mystery at its heart, and the protagonist is a little girl. She's only 6 years old. So we're sort of reading over her shoulder as she goes around working on a family mystery, and I've been describing it as sort of a doubly unreliable narrator because the little girl's very imaginative, and we as the reader aren't always sure if she literally is seeing some of the things she's describing or if she's just, sort of playing in a childlike way. But also the adults in her life are lying to her, and we, the reader, get that when she doesn't often. So she sort of reports things straight that people are telling her, and we, the reader, are thinking, well, that doesn't sound quite right, or, now why would you say that in this situation or something? So it's pretty fun. It's in the spirit of The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, in that we're a little bit ahead of the narrator some of the time, but there are a few twists, hopefully.
How did you come up with the concept for this novel, and what was your inspiration?
Well, I was sort of challenging myself to write the youngest possible protagonist I could possibly write. So originally I had a short story of similar lines where the narrator is telling us what's happening but doesn't actually understand it themselves, and that protagonist was only 4. And we, the reader, were understanding a lot more. And it's just fun for me as an author to get to play around with that kind of point of view. And so then when I finished that, I was like, could I do a whole book in this protagonist? And the answer was no, which is good that I didn't waste that much time on it because it had actually already been done by Emma Donoghue in Room. But I didn't know that. I hadn't read Room at that time. So the protagonist aged up a little bit to 6. And that was a little more doable in terms of her being able to get places and sort of get into trouble and investigate things. It didn't seem very realistic as I kept going that a very young child would even be left alone that long, So she did get a little older. And I think I was really inspired by my sister's children, who at an extremely young age sort of did have their own goals and needs. And it was obvious that they had a sort of a rich inner life. I didn't know a lot of children, so I thought they were little blank slates for a while, but even at just 1 or 2, it was obvious that there was a lot going on under the surface, and I sort of became fascinated with that idea and kept exploring it in writing.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell us, who's your favorite character in the novel?
I like Uncle Donnie. He does sort of become the antagonist in the strict sense of the word because he's sort of opposing what our protagonist wants, but he's sort of a good-natured antagonist. He's not evil or anything, and I had a lot of fun writing him. I think he's fun. Since I'm the aunt of the children, I suppose Uncle Donnie might be playing the role of Eliza in the book.
I like that. But if you didn't write, what would you do for work or as another creative pursuit?
That's an interesting question. Well, I love music, so I'd probably be a very unsuccessful musician. I didn't say I'm very good at music. I just really love it. I'm in a band of other similarly unskilled musicians, and we get together and just have a great old time and drink and play and have absolutely no talent whatsoever. So it would probably still be a pretty hard scrabble life as a musician.
But you love it, so that's all that matters.
Yes, I'm very happy and very poor. Yeah.
Yes. What would you say is your favorite childhood book?
Well, I grew up in England myself. I grew up in Lancashire, and the Famous Five books were sort of the first book that really captured my imagination, and I just loved that the kids were in the driver's seat, and it was a different time in England, so they really were sort of off on their own a lot, and they were in boarding school, and they were going on these vacations basically with just the five of them, or other series that were similar, and I loved that because I was not raised that way, and I was not sort of off with a roving pack of kids solving mysteries, you know? And I think that those books really were what made me want to learn to read, because my mom would only read one chapter and I would want to get ahead and see what happened next. And I think as a very young writer, I wrote some very similar, extremely similar Famous Five type sort of novels, such as a 12-year-old would write. So yeah, that was probably the initial start of it all.
So when you're not reading or writing, what are you doing?
Well, a year ago, I bought a very old, rundown house, and it is rather rundown, and I have been working on it patiently ever since. It has a very large garden that is entirely at seed, so I'm working on all of those things. I love to garden, and I'm learning a lot about house upkeep and repair. So it keeps me busy. That's good. Publishing is slow, and you have to have something you can do with yourself to keep yourself busy so that you don't harass your publicist every day with requests for updates. So a nice wood floor that needs polished or whatever will really do the trick.
Yeah, definitely. So getting back to All That's Bright and Gone, how do you want readers to feel after reading this novel? What are you hoping for?
I hope that they feel a little nostalgic. I hope that maybe I've helped them remember some parts of being younger that they had sort of forgotten about. That's sort of what it did for me, at least. I felt like I was sort of deeply embedded in these childhood memories I hadn't thought a lot about, and it sort of brought it all back to the surface. And I hope it gives us a little compassion for children who they don't have a lot of control over their lives, and they have big dreams and big emotions, and they need the truth, you know. That's sort of what the book is about, is adults trying to protect children by not telling them the truth, and how that just doesn't really work out long term, because children are going to come up with their own version of the truth and try to make sense of things. You can't just keep them from thinking about it. So hopefully those are the things that will go through your mind as you're reading.
Alrighty. Eliza, thank you so much for coming on the show. All That's Bright and Gone will be available in bookstores on Tuesday, December 10th.
Thank you so much. It was so much fun.
Oh, I had fun too. New this week from Orbit Books, The Light of All That Falls by James Islington. This is book 3 in the Licanius trilogy. New this week from Basic Books, A New World Begins, The History of the French Revolution by Jeremy Popkin. New this week from Chambers Books, Poems from the Edge of Extinction, an anthology of poetry in endangered languages by Chris McCabe. New this week from Disney Hyperion, The Monster Hypothesis by Romilly Bernard. This is a fast-paced, middle-grade mystery filled with humor and scientific intrigue, set in a perfectly eerie southern town. Alrighty everyone, that's it for today's show. Thank you so much for listening, and I would like to extend special thanks to Eliza Nellums for coming on the show. A list of all the books mentioned in the show will be available over at bibliohappyhour.com. Don't forget to follow Biblio Happy Hour on social media and sign up for newsletters. To shop all the books I've mentioned in the show and to find a bookstore near you or when you're traveling, visit bibliofinder.com. To listen to our off-the-cuff discussions, get our monthly top-shelf new release recommendations, behind-the-scenes content, perks, and more, head on over to patreon.com/bibliofinder. And wherever you're listening, please don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review the show. Alrighty everyone, that's it, and I look forward to talking to you in next week's show.